Hey friends, I'm so sorry, but the card was full, and so I didn't get to record our sermon during the actual worship time. But we thought of you, and so I'm going to record it now and hope that you're listening. Now let us listen to the Word of God from Hebrews. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. And by faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of that same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful, who had made the promise. And so, from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, then they would have had the opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to call himself their God. For God has prepared a city for them. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So I have to let you guys know that Joe Biden said that this church is lucky. I got to meet Joe at a funeral recently, but as amazing as it was to shake his hand and hear his words of accolade, something even better happened. A woman came up to me crying, and she stopped me and she said, "My husband died a few months ago, and I think this is the first time I believed in God again." With that, I was sweaty. It was so hot inside that church. I was myself a little sad because I knew the deceased and had kept it together during the funeral, but was about to lose it right then and there. And it was beyond hot. And it reminds me of where we are today, smack dab in the middle of the dog days of summer. A time, according to dictionary.com, marked by lethargy, inactivity, and indolence. Little does Webster know, this time is also the time of Bridezilla, aka wedding season. With two pastors in our household, we've definitely been unwittingly bit by the wedding bug. I've still got 2 weddings to come, and I haven't decided quite yet, but one might be a bridezilla. Well, a groomzilla. He's an interesting fellow. But even in the middle of wedding season, as I've been getting ready for the fall with planning classes and looking at Advent and getting excited about what's ahead, I was struck with another bug. The ordinary time bug. Right here, right now. It seems a bit slower and like I'm just waiting for the next season, for Advent and Christmas, for the real stuff to start happening again. But believe it or not, I think weddings have really helped me get out of the lethargy and indolence part of this hot, muggy, ordinary season. This summer I've helped Casey with weddings and have written homilies about love myself. And after each wedding, whether I'm a pastor or simply attending, I am overcome with how much each wedding I've witnessed this summer has been about the humility of faith, the realness of it all, bridezilla or not. Because there is that one moment where it's not about the dress, and it's not about the Jimmy Choo shoes, and it's not about the flowers. It's about this crazy idea that 2 people might be able to stay in love forever and fight through it all. realness of faith. Which coincidentally is exactly what the church means when we call this ordinary time and wear our green stoles. This is not Easter time, nor Lent, nor Christmas. It's ordinary time. A study of exactly the realness of everything. But don't take that word lightly, ordinary. It doesn't mean we are in a normal time or in a bland worship mode, or at least I hope so. No, it's simply meant to be a time we practice our faith without the excitement, without the glory and the impending birth of Christ. Or the death, the sadness, darkness of his death, and then that unreal resurrection. This ordinary time is meant to help us live our lives without those exciting bits of literature, our everyday lives. And as I read and reread this passage from Hebrews, I kept coming back to the tension between preaching an ordinary time on Sunday morning and then preaching on Saturday, the day before, about love to men wearing cummerbunds, which apparently is coming back, sad to say, and to women in shades of pink and gray, surrounded by thousands of dollars worth of flowers. That strange tension is very real as I try to impart biblical wisdom to people who are just waiting for that open bar and 3 kinds of cake. Oddly enough, the Hebrews are stuck in this same kind of surreal tension, wilting with the humidity of the dog days of faith, stuck between the lethargy and the wedding season. The Hebrews are in a time where they have grown up knowing that the second coming of Jesus is right around the corner, right? I mean, since they were kids, they knew that Jesus was coming, and they weren't going to make it till their 80s because Jesus was coming back to get them. That's it. They thought that their faith would be finished in their lifetimes. The culmination of faith is imminent every day. And at any second now, they were prepared to throw a wedding reception like none other for Christ himself. Yet, here they are, all in their midlives, and perhaps their 80s, their 90s, and that second coming of Jesus is nowhere to be found. They're feeling let down, bored, perhaps even swindled by this faith, this belief that Jesus would come back any day now, because, it wasn't easy. They weren't just going through the motions of church. No, they were suffering for this belief. They were being hurt. They were being victimized, oppressed, because of their belief that this thing was real. And it's let them down. Ordinary time. And giving up or giving in seemed like the only outcome. Why would they bother doing this anymore? This faithful thing. Paul writes to them, reminding them that the dog days of faith are the perfect ground for a wedding season, for the celebration of something as ordinary, as common, yet miraculous as love. As miraculous as the love of Jesus towards us, his betrothed, the right here, right now. Jesus is here. Jesus has already come, and his love is right now. And it is because of this love that I am reminded of the first wedding I ever performed here in Delaware. And they just so happened to be in church on Sunday morning. Showed up out of the blue, these 2 people. These 2 people had already been together for about 25 years, but they knew the importance of taking that step toward a moment where they asked God and their families to surround them in a covenant. And these 2 women, sure, they needed some of my guidance on a few parts of the wedding, but they knew one thing. They wanted a specific passage from the Velveteen Rabbit read. And they are such a generous, thoughtful couple, they sent me my own copy of the book. And I don't know the last time I read through the whole Velveteen Rabbit, but reading it as an adult made me realize the wisdom of this couple for wanting this to be a part of the words that began their marriage. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender, before Nana could come tidy the room. "Does it mean having buzzing things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you were made," said the Skin Horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When someone loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with it, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. "When you are real, though, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the Skin Horse. "You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or who have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in your joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to the people who don't understand." "I suppose you are real," said the rabbit, and then he wished he had not said it, for he thought the Skin Horse only smiled. "Someone made me real," he said. "That was a great many years ago, but once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. It lasts for always, and we have been made real not by our doing, but by God's love. Not by our faith alone, but by God's love. And only when you notice that your eyes are bugged out by the wear and tear of faith, when your fur is worn down by the monotony of session meetings or waking up on Sunday morning, even though you're not really sure how you feel about God today, even when you're missing your son, even when your sister has died, even when you don't have a job, even when everything seems to be falling apart, only then is it real. The kind of worn-out, midlife faith of jumping in and celebrating the realness of the ordinary of it all. And Paul said it best. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see. We can't always see that our bugged eyes and worn fur are beautiful reminders of the realness of faith. But it is here, in the ordinary time, that we are given the chance to look around. Look around and see that those are precisely the things that make it real, that make us real. In a moment, we will gather around this table made of wood, made of a tree that was no different from any others. We will eat bread that, while delicious, is not made with magic. We will drink grape juice that came from the shelves that I hear Joanne gets from Acme. And it will be those ordinary, real things that make up our confidence in what we hope. Because that table, that bottle of juice, no one could have seen those things before they appeared here before us and said, those are a part of the meal Christ himself has set. And even though we might not have seen it before, when they were just items in a grocery store, Christ will invite us and make it real. And Christ will make this a wedding feast fit for the most real, bug-eyed,